Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Sunday sunshine. Today is November 16th. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, as you know, I go off on the rails once in a while. And I'm not a big proponent of trying to convert anybody to anything. But I thought we could all agree on maybe one thing is my words are God's love. Okay? But today's topic is more love. Okay? And they're both intertwined depending upon what position you're coming from. But I think we can all get to a place where we can agree. So stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, if you didn't already know it. And yes, this is the weekend where we go off the rail and we do what we want. But today is kind of Sundays. I usually leave for kind of like the Sunday sermon, kind of a pep rally to get everybody ready to go back to work tomorrow. I know. What the hell? Why you mention that? I talk a lot about God's love. And the thing is God is no different than you or I, in that all he wants from any of us is just our love. That's it. You're going to get accepted. I don't care how you look, what color your skin is, what you identify as, or any of the above. God isn't there to judge. And we have free will. Free will says you can be as big an ass as you want to be and as asinine as you want to be. You know, but the biggest problem people get stuck on when it comes to God's love is I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of being loved. So that means God does not love me. And you're looking at the equation all wrong. The way you need to approach it is look at your own life. One of the biggest things that we are as humans, we want to be loved, okay? Whether it's by a spouse, by a child, by a grandparent, grandmothers, especially in moms, but we want to be loved, okay? And that's what we strive for all the time. And we set ourselves up for disasters sometimes because we're looking for love in the wrong places, from people that just simply do not love you. They may like you or like to hang around with you because you're quirky and funny, but that's where the line in the sand is. And I'm from a different stroke, okay? I love everybody. And when I say I love you, it doesn't mean that I have to be in a relationship with you either. It just means that I'm already crossed to those bounds. It's my love is freely given, just like God's is, but I can't force anybody to even like me, let alone love me, right? But I've got a couple choices when it comes to that situation. I can either become, what's the right word? Brain fog, recluse, upset because I was rejected. I didn't get love back, and I don't deal with that BS. I don't go into it. I will give you my love freely. If you decide not to give that back, I'm okay with that. It doesn't matter to me. God is the same way. Okay? You can read the Bible, go to church every Sunday, think you're, the perfect candidate for going to heaven, but here's the real skivvy. We're all going to heaven. It's just there's going to be a time and a place, okay? And God is no different than me. God gives his love freely to everyone, okay? But he can't get you to love him back. because you have free will. You can decide to or not to. That's totally up to you. Now, I can tell you from my life, because I've believed in God since I was a little guy, and we've had our falling outs. Don't get me wrong. I've cursed God, on numerous occasions, and then, but those occasions I was young and I didn't understand what was really going on and how everything in the universe fits together, right? Now that I'm older and I look back, I'm like, okay, I see that. Okay, yep, I understand that. That's that aha moment, right? But if you're sitting there saying, I'm afraid to show God my love because I'm afraid He's going to reject me, I got news for you. The only one that will reject you in that relationship is you, of rejecting Him. And I've had people say, well, I've been a drug addict, I've spent time in jail, I've done these terrible things, I am unlovable. Bullcrap. I don't care what you've done in your past, okay? My hopes is that whatever wrongdoings you did in the past, you learn from those and you're not allowing that particular date and time to define you, and you're so much better because you deserve better. He's not looking at that. I am. Hopefully, like I say, you've come full circle and now you're doing very well for yourself and for the people around you. There is not one person, I don't care whether you have a mental health issue, whether you have a physical disability, whether you have, doesn't matter. You could be the ugliest person on earth and God will love you. I know, hard to believe, right? You're looking at Him. People make it too overcomplicated. Churches make it too overcomplicated. Why can't we just say it like it is? God does not want you to fear Him. The fear of being struck down. Now, in saying that, keep this in mind. Is the only person you can't lie to is God. Because God is with me day in, day out. So if I'm doing something and I'm trying to tell Him I'm not, isn't that kind of asinine? It's kind of like having a body cam on and having it capture everything and then you're saying you didn't do it. Bullcrap. Yes, you did. So if you're trying to get away with something, forget it. Are you going to be a perfect, stellar person that is going to always make the right choices? Absolutely not. Not even close. I teach a lot through these videos. With time, you get experience, and with experience, good and bad, you gain wisdom, right? And that usually is with age. But the only way you can get experience is if you try something, right? And it's not going to always turn out the way you would hope to, or the way you had hoped it would, right? So you look at the situation and you say, okay, what is my part in this, and what am I doing that I could change that maybe might get a different result? Is it the way I treat others? Is it the way I treat myself? Am I a drug and alcohol abuser? Am I, or the way I treat others? Am I narcissistic, and just self-centered? Those things, when you're looking at those experiences, some of you are going to say, well, I'm happy with the way it went, even though everybody else wasn't. You're not here on this earth alone. You're here with billions of people. Billions. And billions have gone before you, and billions will go after you. Just keep that in thought. Keep that in mind. But the church wants to use somewhat of a fear-based. Most churches do. And I got some slack from it here probably a week and a half ago. I wrote a topic on God's love. And I explained that how well you read the Bible and how often you go to church is not going to get you any quicker to heaven than the person that just believes in God and is a good, kind, decent person and helps others when there's nothing there to gain. Human decency goes a long ways. And I went on to further say, look, the Bible is man's interpretation of God's will. And if you take 10 people, line them up, and you tell them 10 things, and you're telling them, keep track of this, I can guarantee you those 10 people will have 10 different outcomes, 10 different writings. And I've also felt, because I have read the Bible, I also felt that it's kind of skewed. And I wrote this. I said, how is it one religion can say, if you commit suicide, you're destined to hell? And another religion say, if you commit suicide, you're going to be rewarded with a bunch of virgins. Makes no sense, does it? But they have the same philosophy of they have a God, but the teachings are so different. And you have so many different religions going on right now that they've made the complexity of, the other point I brought up is, how is it in some religions women are meant to be obedient and actually rate less than the family dog? It is. Yet, in my eyes, my grandmother, my mother, my wife, my daughter and granddaughters and stuff, they rate as my equal, if not more at times. If something is trying to teach you and it's fear-based, then it's being taught wrong, or it was interpreted wrong. If we just peel back the complexity is get rid of all this garbage that you've been spewing and adding to it, trying to control people. Let's add this, and let's add that, so that, it's kind of like laws with the Constitution, like that. Is there are so many laws on the books that if they just enforced the laws, everything would have been fine years ago. But they make more laws because the ones that are on the books didn't get enforced, and the ones that they just wrote aren't going to be any better. It's just going to take more and more rights away from you as an individual. That's all it does. The government is for the people. It's not to run the people. It's for the people. And the people are the government. And at any time, that government can go. And it's happened over ages, right? Different groups in power and stuff like that. But if we pull back the complexity and just take it down to the basics of all basics, and that is God loves you, and all he asks for in return is your love. God is not a convenience. God is not. If the only time that you think of God is when you're in need or in trouble, are you really believing in God, or are you just reaching for straws? Because I know in my case, God is probably more often than not. And I'll be honest with you, there's very rarely that I ask anything of myself. Although I did find myself asking God, show me a big 10-point book. That was yesterday morning. It didn't happen. Which means Just because you ask for it and God hears you doesn't mean He's going to give it to you. That's life. But I'll hear people come up to me and say, but Eric, when I was in dire straits, I asked God for help and He wasn't there. I said, you sure about that? How do you know He wasn't there? Because I know right now that God will require us to do the heavy lifting. In other words, if it's within our control, something that we can do to better whatever's going on, He wants you to do that. And the way I equate it to a lot of people is if you have a parent and a child, a teenage child, all right, and a rich parent. Now, the kid goes to a party, smashes the brand new Ferrari, and the parents meet up with him at the hospital and they're all worried and stuff, and they go out the next day and they buy him a new car. What are you doing? Nothing was ever brought up about the kid drinking, and let alone being behind the wheel of that car. But yet, the parents thought the best way to do it would be just to replace the car. You never addressed the real issue, right? But that's where God is different. God is not the rich kid's parents. God is, if you got yourself into this situation, wouldn't it be better if you figured a way out? That way you would learn something. See, one thing I've learned in my lifetime is God will never give you anything more than you can handle. So when you feel like you're at wit's end, you can't handle anymore, I got news for you, you can. And sometimes we have to dig down deep, right? Same thing with a parent and a child. We go through this, all the stages as they're growing up. We want them to learn from their experiences, both good and bad. If they do something bad, there has to be repercussions, right? Because if not, what's going to stop that kid from getting in the car drunk again and smashing the second car? And you hear about this quite often. I have over my years. It's not like it's a daily thing, and it solves nothing. If the child was never reprimanded, brought to the consequences of drinking and driving, they will continue to do it. Just give that some thought today. You know, all God asks of you is for your love. There are no hidden agendas. There are no certain things that you have to achieve to before you can ask for God's love. You can ask for it at any time. And what I'm telling you is it's like me. It's freely given. Just because I freely give it to everybody does not mean everybody will give it back. And that's God's situation. He gives it to everybody, but He can't control you getting it back, giving it back to Him, because we have been given free will. The biggest thing that you can do that wastes a lot of time is God's greatest gift to us was life. And if you spend a lot of time dealing with BS and not seeing what's really going on, you're missing out on so much enjoyment that God has given us here on earth to enjoy. What I can tell you is that heaven is worth the wait. It is. It's a nice place. So on that note, you guys have a great Sunday, and give it some thought. If you felt that you weren't worthy of it, I got news for you.